because baking some stuff in the oven, running the dishwasher, trying to be a real goddamn adult, and which means that part of my apartment is very loud. But I kind of dig this space. I got the bed to mute the sound, right? The back wall is a little boring. Ignore that. We're gonna spice that up. But talking about saviors and demons, love our saviors and demons. Fix your goddamn shirt, professional. So why am I making this video? Well, part of my goal for this objectively typed channel is to update the internet as a whole with beginner content, fundamentals content, whatever you want to call it, that reflects the 2020 attitude of objective personality. So if you go back and watch the videos from 2018, they're not wrong. You're not going to get wrong intel if you watch those, right? But what you will get is you will get an incomplete version of the parts. You will get a less nuanced take on the parts. And if I'm being perfectly honest, and I think that they would admit this too, you get a lot of mishigas in the old ones. You get a lot of mishigas. And the reason that you get so much mishigas is because their earlier videos, they had seen some, like their data set of humans was pretty good, but their data set of how much humans are capable of growing when put under the proper conditions, that they had not seen. And so a lot of what they are energetically projecting onto their videos, very understandably, mind you, but a lot of what they're projecting is their own journey and their own difficulties and their own, this is the hardest fucking thing in the world. Everybody sucks at it. The world is shit and you're, right? You get a lot, you're like, stop, calm down. You were trying to grow an oak tree in the middle of Manhattan, like stop. We can create an environment that actually fosters growth to make this not so bad. And you also get, and this is something that I mentioned in the Facebook group that seemed to click with a lot of people, whatever. But that I think that Dave and Shan are in some ways starting to realize. There's a difference between not understanding yourself and not understanding the parts, right? So you could recognize in yourself, oh, I am driven by a need to communicate, right? The need to express, to communicate, going against the grain, going insane, going mad, right? So you're like, oh, I feel a lot of this extroverted energy, specifically when it comes to communication. And that is my dominant thing in life. I must be blast first, right? So if you end up being blast third or blast four, right? If you're like a play, consume, sleep, blast last, does that really mean you typed yourself upside down? Does it really mean that? Or does it mean you haven't studied the system for long enough, you're newer to the community, Dave and Shannon haven't explained something in a way that clicks with you, right? Two different factors at play that you gotta understand. So I want to sort of not redo these fundamentals videos, but I want to come at them with a little bit more of 2020 energy, a different spin on them, one that reflects the growth of the community, that reflects the growth of Dave and Shannon, because they are very different people now than they were a couple of years ago, and just their level of nuance that they have about how they see the world has grown by leaps and bounds. And while they can't go back and redo all of them, that doesn't mean that I can't. So, without further ado, let's get right down to it. Saviors versus demons, man. What's a savior? What's a demon? In the older iterations of objective personality, the difference between savior and demon had a lot of, I keep coming back to the word mishigas. For those of you who do not speak Yiddish and do not know what Mishigas is. Mishigas is just like a lot of anxiety and emotional energy and a lot of craziness and it's just a lot of Mishigas happening right now, right? So what they were first tracking and again, look, they're tracking fucking YouTubers whose literal job it is to get worked up about shit, right? Their job is to have meltdowns and freakouts publicly all the time. So one of my bigger criticisms of Objective Personality back in the day is like, you cannot possibly type Reese Witherspoon, Anne Hathaway, and Barack and Michelle Obama based on their public appearances. You can't fucking do it. Why? Because they are so much like, by virtue of the fact that they are in the public eye and they are media savvy and have had years of official and unofficial media public presentation training, leaving that aside, you're talking about the 1% of the 1% of the 1% when it comes to polish, precision, knowing exactly how to say something in a way that reveals something without revealing too much. Like, they're just so fucking practiced at it that I genuinely don't believe, in some ways, based on the old definitions, that Dave and Chan could ever type them, right? Because when Reese Witherspoon comes out, I don't care if she's giving a speech. I don't care if she's doing an Instagram video. I don't care if she's doing, I was going to say Leno, but he's not on the. I don't care if she's doing Jimmy Kimmel. You're seeing what she wants you to see because she's a fucking professional. But now that they've updated the definitions, I'm more into it. So what are the updated definitions? Well, the difference between a savior and a demon is not necessarily a freakout. And if you catch someone in a freakout tidal wave, mazel tov, like, cool, you got a freebie, right? You nailed them on the, that's a hardcore observer decider coin, right? Or that is T over F to hell, right? Cool, fucking nailed it. With a lot of these YouTubers, their job is to ramp up their emotional experiences, and also they don't have the media savvy. Most of them don't have the media savvy to be able to camouflage it as well. So cool. If you're typing YouTuber, that's absolutely a valid thing to look for. But if you're looking at someone a little more sophisticated, somebody a little older, somebody with a little more growth, somebody a little more balanced, a little more glass lizardy, like whatever it is, here's what you look for. It's just, which one do they which one did they have to learn to do first? Which one did they have to learn to do first? And here's why I like that definition and why I think it is trackable. First off, we're all about growth mindset here. And if you're learning shit, right, that's growing in a personal way, right? The other reason I like that definition and why I think it's pretty trackable is a lot of these people, if you're trying to type, like wildly successful people, whatever metric you want to use for that, whatever wildly successful means to you, like long term, right? Whether it's someone like for me, like Reese Witherspoon, she's like an enormous inspiration to me. I'm trying to think of other people that I'm just like, yes, whatever the fuck comes out. Brene Brown, she's another one. Obviously Michelle Obama, because she's fucking Michelle Obama. Like those are sort of like the off the top of my head alphas that I really think about and like look up to. Keegan-Michael Key, I put him in a sort of a slightly separate category, only because our types are so close. And he's also a glass lizard. But like, let's stick with those three. Let's stick with Reese, Michelle, and Brene Brown, right? So with all of them, you're gonna hear them preaching everything, right? You're gonna hear Michelle Obama preach about her identity, right? And the importance of identity. You're gonna hear Gary Vee preach about the importance of identity. You're gonna hear Reese Witherspoon talk about how important it is to, like, you know, I think she's glass lizard-ish, but like, so she's basically an ESFP. So she's going to be talking about like her production company and like how she's organized everything and how like she's like, I have all of these like different movies in different stages of production and I can track everything and I'm a businesswoman and I run a business, right? The very like, she's talking about preaching her OI. And then who's the other one that I said? Oh, Brene. I mean, fucking Brene, right? All she is vulnerability and hippy dippy bullshit, right? The demon NF in her, right? And where I think that a lot of people project, to put it nicely, I think a lot of people project. I think a lot of people will be like, if you are talking about your demons, you are by definition peacocking. Nope, abso-fucking-lutely not. Nope, it's just not how it works. Especially when you're talking about wildly successful people, they're not going to peacock because they're fucking good at it, right? Again, YouTubers, sure. You will catch Tai Lopez peacocking, right? You will catch Hannah Hart probably peacocking, right? You're not going to catch Anne Hathaway peacocking. It's just not going to fucking happen, right? You're not going to catch Michelle Obama or Oprah peacocking because they've worked on their shit, right? You're just not. So what you can track is, what do they talk about having to learn to do first, right? For my own experience, right? So I'm an extroverted INTJ, right? I'm a cranked up INTJ, but I am still fundamentally lead OI with SE at the bottom of my function stack, right? I love SE. I'm actually pretty fucking good at SE at this point in my life, given my environment, given all the work that I've put into it. I'm not terrible at it. And, you know, my FI is certainly weaker. It's single activated, right? Whatever. But like, if we're talking about that big poll, how do you catch me as an INTJ, right? And again, another reason I like this is that you are able to use this process even when you're dealing with a glass lizard, like Bo Burnham or Pete Holmes, Anna Kendrick, right? There's a bunch of INFPs, but just like fucking cranked to hell. Stephen Colbert is another. Bo Burnham is he gave me a lot of issues. I actually got Bo wrong. I got all of the, I got the animal order correct, and I got the modalities pretty correct. I wasn't sure about FTE, feminine extrovert decider or masculine extrovert decider. But he was an IP, not an EP, right? I had him as an ENFP. They have him as an INFP. And what I was thrown off by is I was like, this motherfucker's really good at TE, right? And he feels really like his biggest problem in life does seem to be the masculine SI, right? I could have done, better with the cross checks, whatever. But one of the other bigger things I missed is I was like, okay, right. Like I'm sort of seeing the saviors and demons, whatever. But like with Bo, he's weirdly had to learn to sleep first and play later, right? He's had to learn, because he has really bad anxiety. He has like, he's got weird tribe issues and weird control chaos issues, right? He's just like got a lot of fucking issues. And so one thing that I sort of missed and glossed over is I was like, okay, I'm seeing his play above his sleep, right? even though I missed the EPIP part, I was like, okay, he's play above sleep because he has had to learn to slow down first, right? So that sort of brings us into this, like, what comes naturally to you. I think that is a slippery definition, depending on the person you're dealing with. Again, whether they're a glass lizard, whether they're just older and have like gone through more shit, whether they've really put in the hours to like work on themselves. So, like, for instance, I will talk a lot about consulting my feelings first. I will talk a lot about gathering information first so that I can do, blast better, right? And that's where you can catch me as like, you're actually an INTJ, because I will speak with great sincerity about, like, you guys, did you fucking know that if you don't gather shit, then you have nothing to organize? And it's not like the world's biggest revelation. Like, I will play up the revelatory aspect for comedic effect, right? But it really is a thing of like, oh yeah, I've now trained my body and my brain to, most of the time, 85% of the time, to go into the situation and gather first. Because I have trained myself that way. I worked on this shit. So, but again, if you get me talking about whatever, I won't talk about the gathering as something that I've always done, right? I'll talk about it in a way of like, I was going on this one path and just sort of hammering on the same spot. And then over time you realize, if you're trying to organize something and get the tribe on board and blast shit out and whatever, you have to take in information, right? If you're not blasting anything of substance that you haven't taken in and processed, no one's going to give a shit after very quickly, right? So that's the kind of thing where, even as much as I talk about doing gather all day long, how I talk about my identity, me, what matters to me, what is important to me, what do I like, what works for me, right? It is it is something that I've like had to learn to do first so that I can do this other thing better, right? It is the equivalent of, let me sharpen my tools so that I can use them better, right? Let me actually study for this test so that I can go in there and not have to fucking wing it, right? Or let me make sure that I go to office hours to clarify these concepts that I think I know, that my OI has organized and has been like, oh yeah, I know how psychology works. I do boop and the bop and the boop and the bop. But like, maybe you should go to office hours. Maybe you should go in and be like, again, even if it's bullshit, even if you're like, I know all of these things, come in with 3 questions and be like, here are some concepts that are trickier, a little more nuanced, and be like, I just want to make sure I got 3 quick questions. I just want to make sure that I understand that, like, that I'm approaching this in the right way, right? I'm like, boom, boom, boom. Maybe I'm right. Maybe I'm not. Hopefully I'm wrong. That's always delightful. But like, let me at least do that first, just on the off chance that my saviors failed me in this particular instance, right? One of the big things that I've really had to learn to do is NF before ST. Doesn't mean I don't ST. I am now at a point where I love doing both. I look forward to opportunities to NF. I look forward to opportunities to ST. It's all good. We're doing the things, right? But I have really had to learn to be like, okay, we're starting off this new year. Let me not write down the mechanics of how I want this year. Let me not blast play coming into 2020. Let me SFNF first, right? Let me get that out of the way, although that's part of it. Like, let me NF first. Let me just make sure that that is as solid as it can reasonably be at this point in time. As long as that is as good as it can be, and I've, gotten my, tricep workout in for the NF, great. Now I can do all of the ST that I want, and I can trust that I'm not going to go overboard on it, or that I'm going to go off a goddamn cliff because I did the NF work first, and I have that as my foundation, right? So all that is to say, to wrap all this up, the old ways to track people of freakouts and tidal waves and peacocking and all of these things that have a really negative connotation to them, they are trackable on, I would say, less developed people. That's a terrible way to put it. Let's try this again. That works on people who have not invested as heavily in personal growth yet, right? Who have not chosen to prioritize balance, right? So maybe a little better way to put it, right? That works on them fucking gangbusters, right? But as soon as anybody gives a shit about growth, they're going to learn to love the thing that they had been putting off pretty fucking quickly. You look at people in the Facebook group, in my own community, in the wellness space in general, like, it's nothing but making buddies with your demons. That's the whole fucking game these days. And I think it's great. I think it's extraordinarily productive. So if you're running through and you're like, I'm not seeing any tidal waves or freakouts or anything, right? Know that there's another level that you can chip away at, right? You can look at it at, okay, the person's really balanced, they're kicking ass, they're doing the things. What have they had to learn to do first so that they can do their second thing? The thing they've had to learn to do first is most likely going to be their demon. And then the thing that doing first is serving, the point of it, the opposite, right? Whether it's I'm going to consume so I can blast, I can preserve energy, sleep. I'm going to preserve energy first so that I can play, right? I've had to learn to do these things. That's how for me, consume and sleep are the demons, and blast and play are indeed the saviors, because the point of consume is to blast. The point of play for me, or the point of sleep for me, is to play. All right, that's all I got for today. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Be sure to like and subscribe and tell your friends, especially about these newer videos, which are going to be veering more into the general personal growth space. If you have anybody who's interested, shoot them a link. Connect them with me. I love reading comments, especially from people who know nothing about objective personality, so that we can try to bring as many people into the fold as possible. Have a wonderful Tuesday, and I will talk to you guys later. Bye.